guys, this is still iced tea. I was just playing along because now comes my favorite part of the year, the most fun, where we let out all our grudges and to start out the new year. This year a movie wasn't exactly that good. But we barely kind of have something that stand out, something like that. But on the other hand, when it's about terrible movies that we saw this year, it was something kind of like special. This is the year that I had some really kind of like special bad movies, and just like I do every single year, whenever I saw kind of like a terrible movie, it's a little bit of kind of like I know people will say that why you're torturing yourself, why you go watch bad movies. I mean, I find some enjoyment out of it. I find enjoyment, trashing it or something like that. I know it sounds cynical but thanks to that, sometimes we get a little bit of a diamond on a garbage rough that kind of lifts up the mood, and I know that we have one particular something that it's gonna be talked about. But either way, it is the time to purge. Purge, like always. This is my own list. Some you might not see. For example, I did avoid like for example. What was it? The week coming tomorrow. What was it? This movie? Yeah, Hurry Up Tomorrow. I am aware about Hurry Up Tomorrow, how bad it was, how pretentious, indulging it was, but it's not gonna be on this list because I haven't even seen it. Another notorious bad movie that I had been seeing on others' list is none other than The Electric State. I haven't seen that one also. So this one is not gonna be on this list because this one I managed to avoid. And by the way, sorry about that I live near a hospital, and at the same time it's windy outside. But either way, I gotta admit that I did found more bad than good, and when I came up with the list, I had a little bit of, kind of like kind of like a little bit of a hard time in trying to put which ones I really dislike or not. Because in the terms of my list, the way I rank it is that it's mostly from the least one, the one that I found it bad, but when it gradually goes up, it's mostly in the sense of which ones I had a terrible time, which ones it doesn't look good, but usually the ones that are on top are the ones that make me the angriest. It's almost like the from top to bottom, I go lower from the most boring, and it gradually goes for the ones that increase my anger. And since I had a lot of them, I'll say this right now. Even because when I put I wanted to put even on this honorable mention a few movies that I wanted to put, but they couldn't make it. So you know what? Let's get started. Let's start with the usual dishonorary mentions. Those are the 3 movies that couldn't make it on the top 10, but it's still need a special mention on why these movies they couldn't make it kind of like on the top for one reason or another. So let's get started. My first dishonorary mention is gonna be a little bit controversial, especially with some peers with this one. But the first my dishonorary mention is How to Train Your Dragon, the 2025 version. The reason why I put it there is that this movie is basically a cheat. It's a cheater. As I am a big fan of the original How to Train Your Dragon. I love that movie. but the reason why I had to put this movie, despite that I kind of begrudgingly gave it a little bit of a positive on my relog, is that this movie is basically just a carbon copy of the original. It may have the same director, but that's no excuse on you doing the movie kind of like the exact same thing. Is the dialogue is exactly the same. Although a lot of the things that they wanted to upgrade, it feels more like a downgrade. It's almost like I mean, it's not kind of like the first time that someone made kind of like a beat for beat remake of something. I already told you about the director that made this movie named Funny Games, in which the director made the movie twice, but he said but with some difference. And then it wasn't exactly the kind of like the good idea, and it just kind of it. So in this one, How to Train Your Dragon, even the changes feels a lot kind of like forced, and even the acting is not as good as the original. For example, you can tell that Hiccup it looks a little bit more stronger compared to the animated version, in which he kind of looks like a twig. He sounds a little bit too young adult kind of movie guy than the animated. This is why I actually like the animated version, because the animated version even they can come up with more creative character designs especially for the humans, and Astrid also comes off as very bland and more kind of like forceful and unlikable in this version. And they wanted to shoehorn in this plot point with not loud, and he comes up as useless. Every time they put something new, it feels forced and useless. Useless. It's so. And the whole dialogue and the whole event is exactly like the first movie. So it was pretty much the most pointless movie I have seen. I even thought so. Honestly, if you kind of say that it's a good movie, you're fooling yourself, because the original is a good movie, and you're just saying that because this one looks live action, which unfortunately the live action makes the whole scenery looks even murkier. It's an insult to people who are into animation, because then when you make this, it kind of feels like, what's the point? I mean, I can accept it. You can make it kind of like a Broadway play, because Broadway plays or theater plays, it kind of gives out the challenge to get out of the box instead of using the typical movie magic scene. But no, this one feels cheap. It feels pointless, and it's pretty sad when this. Apparently, they're gonna arrest me for talking bad about How to Train Your Dragon 2025. Give it a second. Wow, that feels a little bit too loud. Apparently, someone passed out for bad mouthing How to Train Your Dragon 2025, which is it is sad when DreamWorks is now falling for the Disney remake route, and honestly, I don't encourage that. So it is sad, and truth to be told, I rather watch that spin-off that many people don't like than rehashing a movie that it's just a carbon copy, nothing more, nothing less. My number two on the dishonorary list, I had kind of like this fight between some other bad movies that were in the horror category. For example, I wanted to put, for example, Hell of a Summer because I really despise the kind of like the main character. A lot of the stories was pretty bad, but it didn't get through. Also, I wanted to put Until Dawn, which it because Until Dawn was pretty much a mess. It was really much of a mess that although it can get unintentionally funny because drinking the water to make you explode. So yeah, these movies, they do deserve kind of like a spot, but first of all, I had too much. But for the honorary mention, I had to put mostly the movie that has the most wasted potential. So my second dishonorary member, my second dishonorary movie of the year is none other than Shelby Oaks. This was a boring movie. It was so boring and honestly, yeah, a little bit. Let's call it a little bit of a selfish spite to Chris Stuckman, in which the guy knows movie. I know he's smart, but unfortunately, he kind of didn't gain so much fans when he just wanted to be the guy who just wanted to focus just solely on the positive, and many people will kind of accuse him to being a sellout, and I know that was kind of like his passion baby, just like another passion movie from another guy, Avatar, James Cameron. I wanted to, by the way, yes, I wanted to put Avatar in there, but it didn't hold up into the list. But coming back to Shelby Oaks, it really felt like it showed that he knew how to point the camera. He had a kind of like an idea, but it wasn't very well structured. Because it felt like it's a mishmash of ideas. It wanted to be the Blair Witch Project. It wanted to be Rosemary Baby. It wanted to be a lot of those things that he likes, but it pretty much had no focus, and we kind of lose kind of like interest in the movie, that it gradually loses its luster. I mean, the first few minutes started out fine, but then you kind of begin to notice a lot of inconsistency. The inconsistency, like for example, why wouldn't you clean up your blood after you see some dude blowing their brains out, or why does the main character wanting a baby had to do with the whole plot, and things then start happening out of convenience. It happened here and there, and you can tell that it wanted to create its own Silent Hill, but the place of Shelby Oaks really felt like almost nothing. And let's not forget about the hellhounds that feels kind of like really out of place. And then we got this probably the dumbest and stupidest ending sequence we ever had this year. The ending was just like what? The best way I can describe it is the most confusing ending we ever had this year, and just because of that, this is why I even beat out Until Dawn, which again is a big mess. Okay, many will argue that Until Dawn is basically worse than Shelby Oaks, but Shelby Oaks deserved a spot for being by having this big ego, by saying that, hey, this is a movie made by a YouTuber who had a dream. Good for him. Good that he makes his dream. Yeah, but so what? There are some YouTubers that even made better movies. I even thought I didn't know. I haven't watched Talk to Me, but I'm hearing good things about it. So just because you are a YouTuber or a movie critic that this finally made a movie and made a dream out of it, it's not gonna guarantee that everyone's gonna like it. And that giant ego is what made it win the spot. And my number 3 is, well, so much of a glitch. Tron Ares. Poor Jared Leto. I mean, I know that the guy can't act, but whenever any movie that he is in, basically is kind of like a curse. Although I don't solely blame him, but it's mostly everything else, especially with the Disney practice that they want to make this movie that is kind of like, well, it's all these nostalgic feelings, and feels exploitative. Many people are saying that they're getting a little bit more soft on the last movie, Tron Legacy, but I don't believe that. Tron Legacy didn't even live up to expectation. It was still boring, and I still consider it a bad movie. Even though I probably might be open to watch it again, but no. I mean, the original, it has a lot of faults, I will admit, and I do admit that that is dull. But I will give it credit that it has kind of like a visual, it has a visual spectacle in which you can tell, in which they try it out of experimentation, and even up to this day, it's something that it can be acknowledged that it's hard to do, with the faces imposing into to make it look like a moving photograph or something like that, to make it look unreal, let's say. But then, of course, Tron Legacy, in which everything is CGI, and honestly, the wow factor didn't diminish. So, what makes you think that Tron Ares is gonna do that? And yes, it has the soundtrack, it has the visual, but so what? So what? This is kind of like the easiest thing you could done. And unfortunately, it's pretty sad when you don't concentrate too much on on the grid, and they have this really forceful pro AI theme of this movie that is full of terrible acting. Not only Jared Leto is kind of like a terrible actor, but also we got this girl. What was it? Eva. This lady who is a little bit too perfect, that she's a very shallow character, that she's basically kind of like the worst, one of the worst main characters that at least on the Tron thing. She kind of becomes boring, and a lot of things kind of like doesn't make sense. The pacing, it was messy. The character development is so full of holes that honestly, it needed a little bit more polish, but it didn't go. So it pretty much, it was just a nothing burger, at least for me. Just so let's cut it short. I think I already talked a lot about that movie, about things that doesn't work, the whole thing, how many things doesn't work. And the whole nostalgia bait that they wanted to play about this movie also felt forced in. It's a movie that didn't need it to be. I mean, maybe it could be more forgiving on Tron Legacy once I see it. But instead of watching Tron Legacy, go watch even the TV series Tron Uprising. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna guarantee you that just like any Tron movie, it's gonna be erased from our memories. If you see a little bit of a cut during this video, is that my neighbors got a little bit too noisy, so I thought it was going to be a little bit of a disservice to this. But anyway, here we are. Here we are with the main attraction, which are the 10 movies that went from bitter to angriest. This is how I rank up these things. Let's start with number 10. My number 10, I wouldn't say bitter. I wouldn't say it was the worst experience of my life. And you know what? Once I mention my number 10, you will question my sanity. You're gonna question why? Why? Why there? You're not gonna believe it, but my number 10 on the worst movie of the year is War of the Worlds. I know. Daniel, why this movie should be on the number 1 spot? It deserves the number 1 spot. It is the number 1 spot. And you know what? Yes, it does. This is definitely the worst movie of the year. Everything is bad in this movie. Everything is wrong with this movie. Everything is disgraceful about this movie. Everyone is saying it. Every movie critic is saying this is the number 1 worst movie of the year. I do agree. It's the number 1 movie of the worst of the worst. So why the hell do I put it as at least number 10? Like I said, at least in my book, to make it on the top, it should be something that infuriates me. It offends me. It in both the subjective and objective way. But the reason why War of the Worlds is so awful that it deserves at least a number 10 is because, ironically, watching War of the Worlds is probably one of the best experiences I had in a long time. It's because it's so terrible that it's just hilarious. I had a blast watching it. Everything doesn't work. Ice Cube, I respect him as an actor, but him just making kind of like the most expensive reaction video ever is insane. The way it tries to make a creative liberty, the famous H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, is baffling on how it turns based on an excuse for an Amazon commercial. The kids are unlikable and make stupid decisions here and there. Like, for example, this stupid woman who apparently she is an expert on biology in order to create this virus or something like that. Apparently she's not smart enough to notice that you can't remove an iron bar from your body because when you remove at least a shrapnel or a dagger, it will cause bleeding and it makes things worse. And also this conspiracy, the aliens going there that they just want our data, and apparently this movie kind of showcasing the kind of like this 1984 horror that the government is watching us to the point that this father even used it to spy on his kids. It's scary, and you basically made me cheer for the aliens more than this. But the execution is so insane that it's just laughable. It's been a while that we get this so bad is great movie. if it goes number one, I get it. I get it that this it's truly deserved, with especially with lines like "It was you." Oh yeah, the biggest again. It's the biggest. This movie is a big giant reaction video. It had this excuse that it was a movie made by COVID, but my God, honestly, this is despite that this is my number 10. This movie is a gem. It's a gem that it's gonna have. I bet it's gonna deserve its cult following. But you know what? I'll take this movie more than the one that has Tom Cruise and Dakota. I think it was Tom Cruise. And also because the other one has Dakota Fanning being annoying as hell. But what's Dakota Fanning? Wait, no, I don't remember if it was her or I don't remember if it was her. I think it was Dakota Fanning. But I'd rather take that over. No, I won't take that. I'd rather take the Ice Cube War of the Worlds, because to give it credit, they tried to not make it like the original movie. It just clumsily took a concept and they just made a clumsy movie. And it's horrible. It's horrible at every moment. But at the end of the day, Ice Cube's War of the Worlds, it is the worst. It is the worst movie of the year, indeed. But because it gave me a great time, I had to at least give it at least a low spot. But the other 9 movies, they don't escape my anger. Because this is where I get more bitter and bitter and bitter and bitter, until I find out kind of like the most brain dead. So let's go with my number 9. My number 9 on my list is Flight Risk.
What? No.
My Flight Risk. This was a boring movie, and this is a movie that I remember that I had a bad night, and this movie really was a cure from insomnia. It's just what was it? Just Mark. How can I say this guy who was kind of like in witness protection, followed by this FBI woman going on a plane, and then an assassin was played by Mark Wahlberg. I think it was Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, I think so. He tries to kill them, and then he acts kind of like acting crazy, and then pretty much the whole movie, you think that flying on a plane was boring. This movie doesn't help, because it's just flying on a plane, just having these people talk, and Mark Wahlberg kind of gives out one of his most craziest acting he has ever done. I mean, he can give out a little bit of a chuckle here and there, but it's just kind of like out of place, and all these dumb moments that happen, but it was just this movie is such a slug, and just watching people just stuck on a plane. It's almost like watching paint dry. And by the way, I didn't mention that Mark Wahlberg being bald. He kind of makes him look like Hank Azaria for some reason. There are also kind of like plot points on the movie that just comes out of nowhere, and it feels still like they just add on spice for nothing, and then we get kind of like this climax that it feels so unsatisfactory. But I can't excuse a very boring movie. I mean, see what I'm saying? That why I put War of the Worlds lower, because there's some worse kind of movies that you're gonna watch. I prefer to watch something really bad that is hilarious, like War of the Worlds, than something that so boring and dull like Flight Risk. So, which is, again, it's basically watch paint dry the movie. So this is why Flight Risk deserves my number 9 spot. My number 8 movie, I was considering putting, how can I say, kind of like a 3-way or four-way tie into this spot. But I have to be fair, because here's the thing: my eighth place for the worst movie of the year. I wanted to make it kind of like a conjunction of almost every superhero movie in it. For example, I'm one of the few people who really didn't like Thunderbolts. I'm except when they kill off Taskmaster. That I give it credit. But Thunderbolts was a miserable, depressing movie. I wanted also to give it a little bit to Fantastic Four First Steps, even though it wasn't a terrible movie. It's just that they made also things a lot wrong. There was also I was kind of like pondering if I wanted to put also Superman 2025, but there's some things that I can forgive with that one, except for the jerk Guy Ritchie. I think it was Guy Ritchie playing this jerk of Green Lantern. There are some. I mean, these are some of the mismatch that I wanted to put, but the more I ponder, there was one superhero movie that actually deserved, and that movie is. And that is, of course, the Falcon. What was it? Yes, the Falcon, Brave New World. Yes, I'm gonna call it the Falcon, Brave New World because I don't think Sam Wilson it really was the guy who deserved the name Captain America, because I didn't see the series, but what was it? The Falcon and Winter Soldier. But the thing is that the guy acts more like Falcon instead of Captain America. He's only Captain America because of the color scheme, and he also has the shield. Just because you have the Captain America shield doesn't make you Captain America. You need a little bit more than that. And besides, Captain America didn't need wings. Because you use the wings, we as an audience, we already get familiarized that he's not Captain America. He's just the Falcon. But the biggest gripes about this movie doesn't exactly follow just because the mismatch of Sam Wilson being Captain America. Oh no. This movie also had a really disastrous behind the scenes production. It went through real development hell. It went through a lot of reshoots, and unfortunately, even the movie doesn't feel like a Captain America movie, but more like a Hulk movie, in which we see again Harrison Ford again being tired. Tired. It kind of plot points come from one thing to another. It comes with villains that come here and then just drop by. It kind of makes it proof that this is the reason why the Disney Plus series doesn't mesh up, because not everyone is gonna do that kind of homework, and people will feel lost. I'm one of those that really felt lost on that whole thing, and even Captain America, kind of like the whole thing in which, yeah, there is something in a storyline about Sam Wilson trying to take the mantle of Captain America and not going through all the expectation. I can get that, although it doesn't help about the color scheme of his suit, in which the color scheme kind of finally call him Captain Popsicle because he kind of looks like the raspberry, cherry, and lemon popsicles. You get it. Yeah, you get it. And a lot. Okay. Also, you can notice a little bit of the odd CGI. The climax that it just fell out of. It just felt kind of like unsatisfactory. It felt more like what was it? It felt more like it's something that should have come from a Hulk movie instead of a Captain America movie. And because of that, this is why I had to give it kind of like my number 8 spot for worst movie of the year. Even though he has to have the contender against Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. Even though, okay, to make it a little bit fair, I will say that Fantastic Four First Step was a little bit the better of all of them. But there's just something that CGI baby and the fact that you have to a woman has to go could have to do all these things to a pregnant woman going through the pressure of space, and the baby comes out unharmed and anything. That still mesmerizes me. I'm not trying to be the asshole or something like that, but that baby really mesmerized me. But either way, Captain America or Captain Falcon, Brave New World, is on the list. And now let's continue with number 7. Number 7, I give it to the sequel of Her. I'm just kidding, they are not related. But that it's all about him. A horror movie about football. It really sounds like promising. And I wanted to see Marlon Wayans play out kind of like a more serious role, and he does. But a lot about this movie comes off as pretty much like unfocused. It showcases, of course, that it has the promise to be a horror, but it couldn't even make up its mind if it wanted to be a psychological horror or a paranormal horror, and wanted to eat the keep the cake and also eat it. That was the odd thing about this movie. I'm running out of batteries here, but whatever. I'm gonna recharge it. And it is all the movie. It doesn't help that it's all a drag about this guy who he's being coached to become kind of like the best football player in the world by his idol, and the idol he's just kind of like nuts, let's say. You can tell that there is a lot of pretentiousness on saying that, hey, look, this is thematic about how they treat these kind of players, about toxic masculinity, the meaning of hurting yourself for the glory and all this stuff, and this whole thing just drags down, and then we get to probably the most unintentionally amusing part of the movie. But the ending of the movie is, I will say, that is kind of unintentionally amusing, but it's mostly because you were kind of bored of a lot of the things happening, that you just wanted something wild. And that's what you get. So that's what you get, even though it doesn't make sense. Or you can't make sense of it. The more you try, it's pretty much like for example, rich people are evil, and then they need to be punished. But Jesus, that it was, you have to go through this drag in order to get to it. Although, again, a little bit the actors are doing fine. Marlon Wayans does his best, I'll say, but, you can't blame me. Blame him. Besides, he's the GOAT. Funny thing, the movie original title was going to be GOAT, but apparently they pull out because there's going to be an animated movie named GOAT. That's just something that I want to say. This is where we're going to start out with the dumber ones. My number 6 is none other than Jurassic World Rebirth. A movie so bad that it made me appreciate the first movie to the point that I decided to finally read the book. The first book, of course. And you know what? The first book is pretty good. There are some things on the book that I like better than the original movie. That I can see some creative liberties done here and there. And you know what? I highly recommend you to read the book better than Jurassic World Rebirth. I mean, as a guy who really despised the other two that came out, I'll give Jurassic World Rebirth a little bit of a credit. It doesn't have that insufferable clone girl, but is replaced by an insufferable family. Sorry, the neighbors are back. Yeah. Speaking of insufferable, yeah, we got this one. They wanted to put Scarlett Johansson on this quest because, well, it's pretty much kind of like an anti-corporate thing that they just want to get some sample from dinosaurs so they can make a heart disease medicine, and of course, corporate wants is like, I want money. I'm just doing it for money instead of sharing it to the whole world. You know that medicine also have some cost productions in order to do it. But if, you know what? When it wouldn't be so bad until it creates a lot of fallacies. For example, people saying that, oh, people don't care about dinosaurs anymore. It's not true. Dinosaurs are still cool. It's just the way you use it. And let's not forget that the whole incident, and the whole catastrophe about why that island is abandoned and all this stuff, everything happened because of a Snickers bar wrapper. When a penny that causes a Rube Goldberg deadly machination is more believable than a Snicker bars candy wrapper, you're gonna have to ponder your existence. Yeah. And let's not forget that from these mercenary characters, I already mentioned that we have to go through this family that apparently they wanted to showcase that that we want to give them some humanity to the Scarlett Johansson character, but they're barely together and they want to make the excuse that they have some kind of character, but no, they've been used to annoy each other, to make them uninteresting, to showcase a dinosaur that is gonna sell toys, and well, they're just kind of like just MacGuffins. Even a MacGuffin to find an excuse to reenact a scene that was on the book. That I'm talking about the raft. And yeah, and of course that raft scene doesn't work because we got Ninja T-Rex. And I'll give it credit that if I was a little bit more forgiving, I like this movie a little bit better than Dominion, but that doesn't excuse to make it a very clumsy movie and of course a spot for the worst movie of the year. So at this point, Jurassic World Rebirth, I am actually more looking forward for Jurassic World Extinction. Okay, here comes the moment, the 5 that these ones are the ones that put me in a horrible mood. Number 5. Oh, that. La 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 is the Smurfs. Smurfs 2025. How did these movies get worse and worse and worse? Which is sad. a lot of people will say, when there was a good Smurf movie. My answer? The first one, The Magic Flute. That was the most decent of all the Smurfs movie. Although it wasn't technically a Smurfs movie, but it's more Johan and Pee-wee's movie. And from this, we had the live action movies, which suck. The Hidden Village was actually close to be decent, but something didn't hit. And now we got this one. And the biggest pattern that I noticed why these movies doesn't work is mostly two factors. The first factor is that they underestimate the material. The Smurfs, yeah, is friendly. It is colorful, but it's not exactly just doing it for the amusement of your child. It's not key jingling or something like that. The Smurfs actually has some medieval wonder. I read the comics. I really like the Hanna-Barbera cartoon. It's not afraid of going to dark places sometimes. There is some heart into it. There's no... the problem with the modern Smurf is that they try to be really hip for saying that, hey, let's distract for the children. Let's do it for the children. They have the target audience of children on their mentality, and they just think that we only songs and colorful things and modern jokes is the right way to go, and it doesn't. That's not the way to make a Smurfs movie. And the second reason, the pattern of why these Smurf movies doesn't work, is something that I call Smurfette obsession. No Smurfette syndrome. Smurfette obsession. Because every single movie and every Smurf IP, there is this obsession to make Smurfette the main character. She's always kind of like the top and all this stuff. Yeah, she's one of the most how can I say, distinguishable Smurfs because, well, she's the token girl and everything. But the Smurf, there's more than just being a girl with Smurfette. Even in the original series and in the comics, she was sweet. She was gentle. She basically brings the Smurfs together. But that's not the only thing that makes her really kind of like just Smurfette. And then they just wanted to hammer things up with this, that it feels kind of like there's this obsession with it. Whew. But of course, also they have this movie that it just wanted to play also kind of like the multiverse thing. It has songs that it doesn't work. It has, well, this plot with no-name Smurf that he pulls out that Deus Ex Machina out of it. Even the jokes doesn't work. They try to modernize it for... I mean, I could tell that there was a semblance of ambition in there. It's just that they think that, okay, let's do this and just for the kids and all this stuff. And of course, it brought all kind of like things that doesn't work. Like, well, Rihanna Smurfette, she kind of shows that she can sing, but she can't act. Not even voice act. She was totally bland. And the more it went on, it made me feel a little bit dumber. And speaking of dumber, this is where let's go with my number 4. My number 4 is the movie that I call that it made me dumber. This is where some of my IQ drop. And I did this to myself. So, this is a movie that really built up some pent-up anger. And that movie is none other than a Minecraft movie. This automatically is on the worst because, well, it has this actor that I really despise, which is Jack Black. And because I was looking for movies that I wanted to fill out the list, I just got repaid with losing my IQ. how can I say I, there's a lot of things that I didn't like. I mean, let's start out getting out of the way that yes, I despise Jack Black. Yes, he act like a man child, and it drags Jason Momoa on it. And so, yeah, not. This is where I really didn't. I really. These are kind of like the perfect recipe for me for disliking this movie. But on the other hand, there's also the fact that it basically has absolutely no story whatsoever. Yeah, all the jokes really felt like, hey, this is a meme, this is a reference, we're gonna do this, and you know what? The movie became successful in money because it's just that. People kind of like the memes, and that's it. There's almost like no value. Even the children acting very bland. The adults acting like they should be under what was it, under 12-year-old or less. The story is pretty MacGuffin-y. They wanted us to also to make feel bad for the what was it, what was it, the villain, but it just useless exposition. Just the means, you know, the chicken jockey. We got the Squidward and the principal storyline that it goes nowhere. It's useless. They wanted to paint. They wanted to. Also, the movie tries to excuse itself, saying that it's about creativity, but they didn't focus on that. It feels like there was zero creativity on there. It didn't concentrate on that. In which, in ways, the Minecraft movie, it wanted to be the Lego movie, but it failed, and it looks even more bad than the other movie that tried to be the Lego movie, which is none other than the Playmobil movie. I could say that some of the graphics looks interesting, but you can really notice that a lot of the acting is with obvious green screen, especially how they emote and all this stuff. And of course, it doesn't. I already said that this is a total Jack Black movie that showcased his talent of being untalented, but still people want to find excuse to say he's the greatest, but he isn't. He's just a slob, and even the way he looks creepy. It's a creepy movie. It's a creepy movie, and you can tell how predatory this kind of practice it is. It's funny how people are saying that video game movies are becoming better and better. This one is 2 steps backward. So yeah, chicken jockey, blah blah blah. A Minecraft movie is one of the worst. Well, I decided to take a little bit of a break for some few reasons, but we are finally here. This is the big three. The big three of the movies that make me dislike a lot. Make me dislike life a lot. Okay, that's a little bit harsh. Let's say that these are the 3 movies that generally make me unhappy. Believe it or not, two of those movies are from the same boat, and you got a little bit lucky, Jack Black, with that Minecraft movie. But here we go. My number 3 is Lilo and Stitch, the 2025 remake. Not only this year you have to watch one Chris Sanders movie, but you have to watch 2. Lilo and Stitch is by far my favorite traditional animated Disney movie, and I kind of expected that there was gonna be a remake, considering that terrible practice that they're doing. But I never. This is one of those few movies in which I really decided that I wanted my money back. But of course, that it gave me the one who was on the tickets. she gave me a little bit of the puppy eye dogs, and I was like, okay, you can keep the money. But the movie itself, it really showcased kind of like a really big slob. Even the quality, it does feel like TV, that it was made for TV. Maybe it was like that. People are kind of saying that, oh my gosh, Stitch still looks cute. Still, Stitch looks good and all this stuff. I kind of disagree. You really can tell how bad the CGI is. I mean, it's well designed, but doesn't mesh well with the environment, which is sad because I'm a fan of Stitch. And this movie also made him kind of like no just and all this stuff. You can call it that it's faithful, but no faithfulness really will. No faithfulness can diminish how bad this movie was. Especially considering that they really want to make insult to animation when they decided to make Jumba completely giving them human disguises, which really misunderstood the charm of the bad disguises. And also they make dirty on Jumba by making him the villain because they didn't want to use Gantu. Apparently they don't want to use it on the sequel because, of course, this movie was successful because, it was successful because of the IP. Lilo and Stitch is one of the most beloved IPs of Disney, and of course, just like Minecraft. Minecraft got it because of that. And you know that the Minecraft thing, I kind of forgot to mention that this is why the Five Nights at Freddy's, they've been seen as a good movie when it isn't. And the acting also was on Lilo and Stitch, the remake, was also really, really cringy, subpar. The little girl who makes Lilo, she was the only one who kind of makes it decent, but which unfortunately is again one of those few movies in which the adults act like cartoons, but they embarrass themselves a little bit, also like the Minecraft movie. They shoehorn in the neighbor, the social worker into it, and they really even made dirty to Cobra Bubbles, who was a badass on the movie, and that was kind of like the joke. But in this one, they brought the voice actress of Nani to play that role, and boy, that she's better off doing voice acting instead of that. And the whole thing looks hollow and all this stuff. And let's not forget that the movie is quite infamous because they really missed the point of Ohana means family. Ohana means nobody gets behind or forgotten just for leave Lilo to social worker so that Nani could get a career because a career is more important than taking care of your girl. So this really diminished a lot how powerful the original movie was. And so even if they wanted to take a remake or kind of like a different route, it feels hollow. And of course, there's the portal gun that kind of again showcased that the whole sadness was pointless and manipulative. Even David was really useless and showcased a lot of the problems that all these Disney remakes had and with their agenda. And because it is making dirty my favorite Disney movie, this is why Lilo and Stitch the remake made me so angry that it had to be on the top. And now we go with number 2. And remember that I said that there are two movies that are in the same boat? Well, they're in the same boat because both of them are Disney remakes. Yeah, you know where I'm going. Snow White 2025. The funny thing about this movie is that I didn't watch it in the movie theaters. I was pondering to watch it because that was kind of like my hobby, but I couldn't do it. I was saved by the Looney Tunes movie. Then on the plane, I couldn't do it because I don't want people embarrass myself. But thanks to that, I watched the Cells at Work movie, and that was brilliant. Then, of course, I had to give myself a little bit of a double feature with the Minecraft movie, and of course, it took me days to brace myself for this one, but I never expected that this movie was not gonna be not just insulting to the source material, but it was terrible in every aspect. You can tell some of the reshoots, the production hell that it won is basically kind of in the same boat also as Captain Falcon and Brave New World. But in this case, it went a lot of things to go against it. First, Rachel Zegler was acting like a narcissistic, insufferable human being. Then there was the Peter Dinklage controversy. Then there was the fact that it was a Disney remake and many didn't want to see a very pretty much innocent movie torn down and go into that route. The CGI didn't. In this case, the CGI didn't work. They look like AI in ways. They, even looking like Alfred J. Newman. And of course, they ruined Dopey also by making him talk. The story really had its phone in, and you can tell that they wanted to showcase their agenda by saying that everything has to be fair. So when they say who's the most fairest of the land, they didn't mean about the most beautiful, but more like who is mostly fair and all this stuff. And you know what? In a vlog, I kind of also omitted the fact. I think unintentionally because I was trying to get out of my mind, but I was watching some other reviewers finally, and I kind of noticed a little bit that there is a little bit of some communist approaches into what it is. Although not, I wouldn't say I think worse, but you know, it kind of felt a little bit odd in some instances. That's kind of a little bit, but this is mostly compatible with my stance that the whole sharing thing to be the fairest of the land. Yeah. Also, it doesn't help that they also it kind of also wanted to combine Snow White with Robin Hood, and I wouldn't have minded if it was more like a parody, but that one take itself too seriously. Rachel Zegler also didn't help out with the promotion of the movie, and she was abysmal in this one. People technically praise that she can sing, but hey, have you ever heard of autotune? I'm smelling autotune on that one. Of course, everyone is talking about Gal Gadot, and honestly, I could see that she wasn't kind of like the worst actor, but she was pretty stone cold, I'll say. And of course, the songs were cringe. A lot of things were cringe. The stories were cringe. The whole Snow White, how she instead of being kind of like a pure innocent girl who is motherly to the dwarf, she's more like she's basically Mulan from the remake, in which she basically is perfect and she's kind of like born to lead. Which that wasn't exactly the point. Not even the point of the original fairy tale. And the dwarves, man, they're useless. You can even take them out, and they just stretch a simple story really, really hard. Again, making this Princess Bride, Robin Hood kind of story. It felt kind of like it wanted to play too safe. But at the end, it went just nothing. Nothing. I already made kind of like my review of how awful that Snow White version is, and it really put a big giant dent that, unfortunately, knowing Disney, they haven't learned, because they still want to go on with Tangle and Moana. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Tangle one, they scrap it? I don't think so. But, Disney, all these remakes didn't work. It's time to pull the plug. But knowing you, You won't. So mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the suckiest remake of them all? Both Lilo and Stitch has no why they should they should be there. So overall, that is my number 2 of the worst movies of the year. So what leaves for number 1? Which is the movie that really angered me the most? The movie that actually topped War of the Worlds, because War of the Worlds, like I said, it deserves the number 1 spot. But at least War of the Worlds, it put me a smile on my face because it kind of brought out and unite everyone the beauty of making bad movies. But War of the Worlds, there was no ill intentions. They just had a lot of most of the movies, especially from the top 5, you can tell that gradually. You can tell there are some ill intentions. War of the Worlds, it wasn't. There was no ill intention on this one. That is the one. That one was more a dumb movie that was done clumsily, and you know what? That's how bad movies kind of get some good reputations. Well, ironic reputations. But nevertheless, there was one movie that is the one with the most baffling. It's the one that I do consider that it has a lot of, how can I say, intentional harmful intentions. When I watched that movie, it baffled me, and I even made a long talk about that one, and you probably might guessing what it is, but I'll say it right now. The number 1, The Unbreakable Boy. Yes, my number 1 is The Unbreakable Boy. As someone who does suffer of anxiety, sometimes panic attacks, or as someone who also was been diagnosed with the autism spectrum on a low level at least, I kind of began to ponder if it was good for me to wreck this movie, and I felt like I was doing a kind of like a disservice when I was talking about this movie. But the more I think about it, it really deserves to be in number 1 spot, because the ill intention is mostly on the sense that they wanted to touch on this topic and not go through with it, and it felt more like an excuse to showcase other people saying that, hey, I'm important because I got an autistic kid. And not just an autistic kid, but a kid with brittle bone disease. And I read somewhere that even this kid has a little bit of a puncture heart. Well, he's not a kid anymore. He's grown up. And man, that and the whole emotionally manipulative tone of the movie, what makes this kind of like a very disgusting film. And the more you think about it. The trailer kind of thought that it showed that it was going to be kind of like clumsy and all this stuff, having this actor who many feel like he fell off grace, Zachary Levi. I mean, I was kind of a little bit forgiving on Zachary Levi because as much as the Shazam movies, one of them good and the other one was not good. At least I will say that Zachary Levi at least had some promise in acting. But of course, came the movie that I didn't watch, thankfully, which is Harold and the Purple Crayon. And now this one, in which he really portrays this really, really unlikable father figure. And the movie, instead of being about the kid, the kid was more used as a tool to be about the father coming in terms to his alcoholism, his disdain for the kid because, well, the kid is giving him kind of like problems, both emotionally and probably economically. and everything kind of begins to fall on him. And of course, the easy solution is for him to go to Christian therapy, and then yeah, that's it. So the kid is kind of like barely there, and the kid is pretty much kind of like the MacGuffin, is showing that the kid is very holy, very very sweet, very innocent, and that's pretty much enough to put a smile on her face. But it doesn't help that the kid is kind of like very annoying. His voice is kind of like really degrading. I don't want to be harsh on the actor, but still, this is all these elements kind of makes me think what makes these kind of like emotionally feel good movies really manipulative, and it kind of became kind of like the second genre of movies that I despise, other sitting on, like, for example, rom-coms and some biopics. Like the kid is almost like always tugging hard or being manipulative, and giving voice, like, for example, this is the best milkshake ever. Yeah. And you can tell it's also the music, the pacing, the elements that this has, and even the mother figure isn't that perfect. She's also sometimes showcased to be a little bit of a scumbag. This lady. I mean, it's portrayed on the movie. I'm not gonna go 100% bashing on the real people, because I don't know them much. They probably had some, but the movie kind of also make me question the logistic of the book, or probably the intention. Maybe the kid was kind of a little bit as a crutch to make the movie not about the kid, but also the parental figure, and a kid about autism kind of become a little bit of a MacGuffin, kind of like an easy thing to attract people and string their hearts, because honestly, yeah, autism is something that is a challenge, but it's a challenge on both the kind of like the person itself, as well as family figure, especially when going through really high level spectrums. But when they showcase like movies like that, and they use it kind of like a crutch, and they kind of at the same time dehumanize these people with autism. It's not an easy task, and you know what? Lately they have been failing on that. Take for example that movie I haven't seen, but I know the reputation, the music movie made by Sia. But you can tell that there are some good autistic movies, good movies about autism, and one of them is of course Rayman. Rayman is the one that comes on top of my head, or this stop motion animation that I forget the name. I haven't seen that one, but I heard that it's really good. There are ways, and they use it more with love of cinematography instead of using the cheap. Oh, this music is so cute. Using this kid as kind of like the pinnacle of everything and all that. There's still things that I need to learn about autism, but I don't think that the Unbreakable Boy was that thing. So at the end, yep, this Unbreakable Boy is the movie that broke me this year. So this is why The Unbreakable Boy is my number one pick for the worst movie of the year. Well, that's my top 10 of the worst. I already talked about the best. We should enjoy our lives both in the best and in the worst, because, well, look at this. From all the bad movies that I made that gradually made me angry, at least I found a gold in War of the Worlds, and even if we can find some really good ones like F1. But in the meantime, I think it is a little bit of a time to give myself, the New Year's Eve break. So Happy New Year, and I'm gonna get drunk with iced tea.